DJI Transmission system has kind of revolutionized the way that I do FPV filmmaking over the year that I've owned it. It has unbelievable range, unbelievable penetration, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about how this thing has integrated into my FPV filmmaking workflow. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the wild side. Wild, wild, wild. Welcome to the wild side. Wild side.
So first, let's dive into the range and the penetration. This thing is unbelievable. Just with the stock antennas like I have it, it outperforms just about everything else out on the market. We use this often as the downlink for someone that's running a gimbal controller or someone that's viewing the FPV feed, and we can absolutely continuously rely on the distance and penetration that this system has for the price, for the ease of use, for how small it is. It's amazing. The second thing that I want to hit on is its weight and size and compatibility with FPV. It is a little bit on the heavy side. It's about 370 grams with the antennas on there. This setup, as I've got it right now, obviously has a HDMI to run that camera, but it also has a battery and a battery plate. You can take all of that off, and then it has a voltage range of 6 to 18 volts. So if you're running onboard power on your FPV drone to your cinema camera, you have the ability to power this off of the same power input that's running. It's an unbelievably flexible system to run on the FPV. It's small, it's got nice small antennas, and it's a nice compact package, very heavy for what it is, but combined with your cinema camera with a powerful lifter, this thing is by far the best downlink system that there is for the size. And then finally, this thing is 5.8 and 2.4 gigahertz switchable, so you can actually run it on that 2.4 gigahertz frequency, which is not going to interfere with the 5.8 gigahertz frequency that your DJI FPV goggles run. There's tons of different options to make sure that this system is not going to interfere with your control of your drone, your expensive drone that you're flying with a cinema camera, and that I think is one of the biggest deals. So even when I'm not on set or when someone is not looking at this monitor actively, I still run the DJI Transmission on my camera. I have this transmitting back to this, and I am recording onto this monitor. Because when I am done flying, I can actually go back into this and see exactly what we shot with the drone as it happened. And that allows me to really quickly make adjustments to, for example, my camera tilt or to exposure to make sure that I'm getting the right shot for the director. Common practice before I had this, especially with these two cameras, this is the Panasonic VGH1, this is the Sony FX6, they're the two cameras that I use the most often when I'm flying. I would have to land, grab the screen, plug the screen in, go into the menu, find the way to do playback, wait for it to get to the part of the video that I want, and it would take forever to get through and check and make sure that everything was working the way that I expected it to. With this, all I have to do is be recording every single flight as I go, and then using the touchscreen, I can just navigate through the menu. When I'm done shooting for the day, I have recordings of all of my flights on this, and we're going to meal, and I bring this transmission system with me, play back, see what the footage looks like, let other people check it out, get ideas, do some collaboration. It opens up the world of creative possibilities when everything is saved on there. Beyond all that, when I'm flying with somebody else that knows FPV pretty well. Usually I have a drone AC like Winston who can be watching over the director monitor with the director and give me any real-time feedback on how I need to be doing the framing. For example, when I'm running a slightly tighter lens or when we're looking for a certain type of framing, whoever's watching the monitor can tell me, oh, you're a little bit high, you're a little bit low, and then I can make those adjustments in real time using the framing guidelines that I have in the FPV. Because I can have someone give me feedback on what the cinema camera is seeing, I'm able to make adjustments on the fly based on real-time feedback and get shots more consistently. It's a huge time saver. I'm not having to plug in another monitor to check exposure, to check settings. I can then do playback anytime, any place, with or without the camera being on. It's just a much better experience to be able to hand this to a director. I've even got the SDI output adapter here so that I can run this into a video village, or it has HDMI output here so I can hand off HDMI to someone else to be able to see what this thing sees. Okay, so I've now got this whole camera system with the DJI Transmission built into the Ronin. So now using this controller, I can fully control the articulation of the camera. So using this, I can kind of, walk around, I can do any kind of movement, and it's all gonna stay in one spot. And then a second operator can control what it's doing using this controller. It's awesome. It's so cool to have this all packaged into one little unit. And you can see that here, I'm even controlling the focus using the scroll wheel here. So I can control where the camera is focused, where it's aiming, all of that good stuff. And I can mount this whole thing on the drone. So this is how we often set up a dual operator Ronin setup using the DJI Transmission. Not only that, you can even use the, I call it the mimic mode. I think that's a free fly term, but now it's going to follow exactly what the screen does. It's pretty cool. But what's so nice about this setup when you're trying to fly it on a performance FPV drone is that it's a relatively lightweight setup. Because you have to have the transmission on there anyway to get that video downlink from the camera, being able to have the control built in, being able to use the DJI Ronin focus to be able to have the power for the DJI Transmission run off of the Ronin, you have the focus wheel coming through all of that. It's a very compact, relatively simple setup for a gimbal use, especially when you're considering the smaller, lighter weight nature of the FPV drones. You want to have a simple camera package. So something that's worked really well for us actually is to have two transmissions on set, one for traditional FPV drones and one for the actual Ronin RS3 drone. That way we can have both bound to the same DJI transmission and be able to record all of the footage to the same controller, have the same controller be used. So it's just a perfect setup for being able to switch back and forth between machines really quickly. I wanted to show you how I mount the DJI Transmission on a camera on the drone and kind of just see how my setup works there so that you know just how simple it actually is. It's actually maybe a little bit embarrassingly simple, so don't judge me. So this little hardware piece is literally just something that I bought from Lowe's. It's literally just an angle bracket that you would use to mount like shelves. That's it. A little 1/4-20 fits in this end. Screw it in on top of the camera right in the middle. Cinch it down good. Then take the DJI Transmission and I mount it with the DJI logo face down so that the SDI comes out of this side. Another 1/4-20, screw it on there. Boom. DJI Transmission mounted on the Sony FX6. Then the Thrustmaster has a DTAP output, so I run DTAP from the drone into the DJI TX, and then I have an SDI running from my FX6 to the DJI TX, and then I actually just run a little battery on the camera so that the camera can stay on at all time, and then the DJI TX is the only thing that powers on and off. So all that to say, I just wanted to point out that DJI is not paying me to make this video. This is actually my transmission system that I bought fully of my own money. It's not something that they sent to me or asked me to review. It's something that after a year of use and falling in love with it and integrating it into my workflow and finding that it really has helped me do more work better, I wanted to kind of just go through how I've integrated it into my system after a year of use. Having this system semi-permanently mounted here on my FX6 on my cine lifters allows me to get through my work as an FPV cine lifter so much faster. Because of that, it just is an integral part of my workflow. DJI Transmission after a year has been absolutely phenomenal. I'm so stoked to have it in the arsenal. I can't wait to get out and shoot with it more. What an awesome tool. Totally stoked to hear what you guys think about the DJI Transmission, how you use it in your workflow. Please leave those comments below. Can't wait to read them. Thanks very much for watching and stay flying.